Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another fine video. Today we're going to be discussing one of our newest neighbors in town, Devcore.
So for anybody who's been driving around town these past few years, you may have noticed that there's a new style of building that has joined the scenery that is Cornwall, and that is these Devcore buildings, Devcore Group specifically.
So it's not usually my thing to make videos of new businesses that set up shop in town, but just taking into consideration the amount of properties that Devcore has acquired over the course of such a short amount of time, you know, you can't help but notice these things. Me and my friends have noticed, my family members as well. So with that being said, I've done some research on Devcore, and I'd love to share what I've learned with you guys. So naturally, you know, I started on the website, and on the website it says they were founded about 20 years ago. They're a get-to-know based company. They have business all over Canada. You scared the hell out of me, you little kitty cat. So something I've learned when it comes to doing research about companies is that a lot of companies are owned by other companies. Conglomerate companies or umbrella companies, if you will. You have various people investing into these companies. So it's not always clear to me who's running the show, who owns what. With that being said, Devcore is no exception. So if you Google who owns Devcore Group, what comes up is Jean-Pierre Poulin is founder of Devcore Group, Incorporated, a quintessential Canadian success story, one in which hard work, creativity, and a commitment to community have been key to its dramatic growth. And dramatic it has been. I mean, Devcore Group is involved with some pretty major projects, especially in the capital. So something else that I've learned in this research session is that there's other companies that are named Devcore. I just found another one here called Devcore Property Group. It's in Australia, so that makes my research a little difficult because I don't want to mix them up too. But anyhow, I want to focus more so on Cornwall, not this international Devcore thing. So I first heard about Devcore when they made the $1 billion purchase of the NAV Center here in Cornwall, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, $1 billion, if that's not a big deal, I don't know what is.
However, I really started noticing Devcore when a bunch of buildings, specifically apartment buildings, started getting this particular paint job.
So the first thing you should notice is probably the color palette. It's a common theme with all their buildings. It's always black with red accents. So just driving around Cornwall looking for other buildings owned by Devcore, I found this one here. It's got the same color palette, right? That's what strikes me first, the blackness and the red picnic tables, but there's no sign. But then I noticed this truck right here, right? It's got the Devcore logo on it, so I'm assuming this is also owned by Devcore.
They don't seem to be doing this with all their buildings, maybe just the buildings that need a new paint job. However, when they do, it's always a grayish kind of tone. The red accent seems to be a very consistent theme, though. So whether you're driving up Brookdale or going down Water Street, 2nd Street, you'll probably come across one of these Devcore buildings. I mean, they're pretty well in every single neighborhood. They usually have that big logo, right? Very noticeable. And I mean, I can't believe how many apartment buildings are now owned by Devcore. These weren't around when I was growing up. In fact, I don't remember Devcore pre-pandemic, you know? So it's not really clear to me how many buildings Devcore owns in town, but just driving around today, I found at least 15 or 20. And it's also not clear to me what counts as a property, right? Because on these lots, you can have multiple buildings, and these are large apartment buildings, man. I mean, Devcore must have almost 1,000 apartments just in Cornwall alone.
So I'm just walking around trying to find their buildings, right? I found another one over there. So we were just there. That's the East Court Mall. We were just over here. That's a Devcore building. I knew about that one. And I didn't notice until now that this is also one. I think it's pretty significant, the amount of properties that they've purchased over the course of, you know, a very short span of time.
So if you look at the bottom of their poster, it says powered by One Valley. Now, what is One Valley? If you look it up, you'll find that One Valley is a smart building feature and company that is also owned by Monsieur Jean-Pierre Poulin.
So from what I can understand, it's an app that you download when you become a Devcore tenant. And from this app, you can access all kinds of services, such as seeing who's at your front door via video call or letting them in via text message. You can control the temperature in your apartment. When packages arrive, or if you want to request extra parking or whatever services your building offers, you can do it via the app. So yeah, very futuristic stuff.
So very futuristic indeed. And if you want to talk more about futuristic ideas that Devcore wants to implement in our community, let's talk about the NAV Center, or as I should call it now, the Dev Center. This is a 20-year project. I mean, what they plan to do to the NAV Center is absolutely incredible, in my opinion. Huge development on the waterfront. That's so important to me because when it comes to Cornwall's waterfront, it is so underwhelming. We have one of the most beautiful rivers in the world.
As much as I grew up playing alongside the river in Cornwall, I can't help but think that there's a lot of potential on our waterfront that isn't being tapped into. And if Devcore has to be the one to develop that, that's fine with me, so long somebody's doing it, because man, we are in desperate need of some waterfront development, in my opinion, in my perspective, you know?
In Cornwall, which is unfortunate. There's not even a beach.
Well, Devcore wants to fix all of these. They're going to build all kinds of walkways and pathways where you'll find shops and vendors, places to go chill and eat. And they even have plans to implement a beach, amongst other things, right? They want to do rooftop gardens and I can't pronounce this word. Botanical gardens and walkways and green roofs and organic food growth. Yeah. And that's a pretty big deal, right? The Nav Center has always been probably the nicest property in Cornwall. If Cornwall was a monopoly board, the Nav Center would be Boardwalk, that last most expensive property that you can purchase, right? Devcore owns that now, and now it's being called Dev Center. So if they're going to make something beautiful with it, that's... So with that being said, I think I covered a lot of the points that I wanted to when it comes to Devcore and Cornwall. I mean, if they keep buying properties in this place, we'll have to call it Devcornwall. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, let me know. And if anybody from Devcore watches this video, welcome to the neighborhood. Yeah.